New Media Research. We are the communication manager of SUSTRACK, and with me there are my colleagues Luis Ested, Susanna Selenia, but also the coordinator of SUSTRACK Project, so Professor Pier Giuseppe Morone and Gulsa Ilan. You will hear from them later a bit more. So with this, I want just to start introducing the event. So I'm gonna sharing my screen. So to understand what are we gonna do, today. Okay. So as said, this is the SUSTRACK final event, but this is not thought as a regular final event. So our idea is really to put together projects, but also policymakers to showcase key results of the concluded project to inspire newly and ongoing projects, and also to have some insights from policymakers. So as said, the objectives are to maximize the exploitation of the results of concluded project, the lessons learned, and the recommendations to effectively inspire projects in standardization, certification, labeling, and monitoring of the bioeconomy, improving, of course, their quality and impact, but also beyond the standardization, certification, labeling, and monitoring, because as you will see, we will host also projects from a little bit different broader topics, let's say. We want to facilitate, of course, collaboration among ongoing, concluded, and recently funded projects, and also facilitate awareness and uptake of the main highlights from the revision of the EU bioeconomy strategy to inform ongoing and future EU-funded projects. As said, we will have a policy to projects roundtable for which the objective is exactly this. So to have some highlights from the revision of the EU bioeconomy strategy, which we will publish soon, to inspire ongoing and newly funded projects. So with this, I want just to give you a brief overview of the agenda of the day. So this is the welcoming, of course, by the project, and then I will soon leave the floor to Michael Schaffer, project officer of SUSTRACK from European Research Executive Agency. Then we will have a look at the main results that SUSTRACK produced in these 3 years of project. And then, as anticipated, we will have this roundtable, projects to projects, in which 8 different projects will present their key results and exploitable assets and their lessons learned and recommendation, as well as this roundtable with policymakers, so that can support projects with the key recommendations from the revision of the EU bioeconomy strategy. Finally, we will also have quick pitch from 6 different projects that are newly funded or ongoing, just started, let's say, to present their projects in light of this recommendation, and then we will have the conclusions and the closing remarks. So with this, I just want to leave the floor to Michael, thanking him for being here. So Michael, I'm asking you if you're gonna to share your screen, if you have the slides, or if you just will speak with us. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much for the kind introduction. I hope everyone can hear me well.
We can.
Yes, okay, good. I have prepared some slides that I would like to share with you. Hold on, if I get this to work. I always find this a bit tricky to pick. I have several monitors, and then to pick the right one for this. Okay. Test Teams. So, okay. I share my slide, and I hope, if I get this right, you should be seeing the presentation. Okay, share. Here we go. Okay, you should be seeing my full screen presentation.
Yes, we see.
Perfect. Okay, that worked. Okay, so again, let me thank you very much also for giving me the opportunity to speak, which I gladly accepted. And I would like to say a few words from the point of view of the final event. And maybe some of you asking the question, okay, what is next after the final event? Does everything end and we're not hear from each other again? So our suggestion is, of course, let's keep in touch. And I would like to offer you several suggestions and how it is possible to do that in the course of the time that follows after the end of the project. So, of course, first of all, there is this huge point on dissemination and exploitation. And it would be great if this could be pursued up to 4 years after the end of the action. And we are offering to the projects several tools, how this can be done. So first of all, there is the Horizon Results Booster. And this comes into as a possible option if you would like to get assistance in your dissemination and exploitation activities and clustering activities, particularly also now from this situation here after the end of the grant. And then there's this the Horizon Results platform in which you can publish your key exploitable results and to increase your visibility even afterwards. And because also I heard, like in your introduction, that there was already the mentioning of publications. So for scientific papers, if you still want to publish, why not considering the Open Research Europe platform? This is a platform that is offered to participants of Horizon 2020 and Horizon Europe beneficiaries, in which they can publish while keeping ensuring all open access requirements, and they are offered at no charge to you. Papers are reviewed, peer reviewed, and of course there's the possibility given with article revision. So just as a consideration and as an option also to continue to publish, as I'm saying, like at no charge, considering that other open access platforms are can be quite costly. If you're considering, if you think you need support on IPR management, please consider contacting the European IP Help Desk. And in the end, for projects for which it may be of interest, you may want to consider to apply for the Horizon Impact Award and get your project activities and outputs recognized. As you will see here in this link, so I just highlight some of the possibilities. There are links behind this, and if you're interested, I can provide you, of course, with the detailed links that you can use and try out and see if this is for you. So next. So of course there's the Horizon Results Booster, and they offer several services. They take a look at your portfolio dissemination exploitation strategy and help you developing it further. You may even think of a business plan, so there can be assistance for this too, or for any go-to-market possibilities if possible. And I also would like to point out that they offer upcoming interesting info sessions that can be followed at no charge. There's a next one, for example, on Wednesday, 26th of November. And also there are support services when it comes to intellectual property rights. I just mentioned a few, the Horizon IP scan. There is guidance material available for download, like further down the new guidance on IP management. And a help desk or helpline that you can contact if you would like to pursue further the IP rights of your results. Just to the IP help desk, I just mentioned the upcoming events. So here are some possible ones. Oh, I'm sorry, this one has already passed. The first, sorry, all of these have already passed, but there are more coming up. So please see if they are what is available. Usually this is done via live streaming, and there is probably the possibility, if you would like to check for any recordings from previous sessions, that you will also find information there. But just this gives you a flavor on the kind of supported information that is available out there. So IP valorization, IP commercialization, licensing, artificial intelligence, or like IP management and ICT projects. So these are like typical topics that are addressed in these sessions. There's another one still ongoing. You may also find it interesting and relevant from your background and your activities, or from the project results, to contribute in public consultations. There are two ongoing. This could be of interest. The one is on the Circular Economy Act. The consultation period is ongoing till 6th of November. And on the Biotech Act, consultation period is ongoing till the 10th of November. There's also more information about this available. Please, as if you would like to participate as a project, it would be great if you could just drop us a line and inform us what you have contributed, so that we can also have an overview and maybe also help channeling the information further. And of course, if you like the project, if you like the experience of working together across Europe, why not explore new funding opportunities? And the next Cluster 6 Info Days on food economy, natural resources, agriculture and environment, and its info days will take place next year in January from the 22nd to the 23rd. Please mark your calendars. And the day before, on the 21st, there will also be the brokerage event, which is always in tandem with the info days. And the more information and registration is already available on the website. But you may just Google, like I did when I compiled this file. Link looks a bit complicated. Just Google Info Days or Horizon Europe Info Days 2026, and it will give you on top as first link this event. The final agenda is not yet there, but you already find some useful information to plan your days. Maybe if you come to Brussels, it's also possible to follow this via stream online. And of course, finally, from a different aspect, to keep in touch with us, why not, if you haven't done so, why not considering to become an independent expert? When you hear experts for evaluation, maybe at first academia, universities come into mind, but we are also looking of experts from different private sectors, from innovation agencies, or local and national authorities and agencies. And usually we will set up a quite diverse panel with experts across Europe with different expertise. So why not considering registering as an expert on the Fundings and Tenders portal, create an account, leave your information, your expertise there as detailed as possible, so that we can also find you in the time when we need you in future evaluations, or even in the monitoring of future ongoing projects. And of course, there's a more casual way to stay in contact with us is, of course, why not follow Rea on the social media channels. We are present on LinkedIn, on Mastodon. There is an Instagram channel called EU Science, and one on X with EU Green Research. And why not checking out this? We also regularly inform about any upcoming opportunities, let it be evaluations or even just new topics under which proposals can be submitted. Okay, that was it from my side. Thank you very much for your attention. And I'm looking forward. I mean, if you have got any questions or if you have questions afterwards, please feel free to write me an email or channel your questions through Gülca and Pier Giuseppe. Thank you very much.
So thank you very much, Michael, for being here today and for your presentation. If anyone has any question, I invite you also to use the chat in case. In the meantime, I think we can go ahead since we are still a bit behind our schedule. So, Gülca, I leave you the floor. As said before, Gülca Ilan is from Unitelma Sapienza, project manager from the coordination for SUSTRACK project, and she will give an overview of the main results that have been produced by the project. Thank you, Gülca.
Thank you, Valentina, for the introduction. I should be sharing my screen by now, I guess.
Sure.
If you can just confirm. Okay.
Yep.
So this will be the main results that we gathered during the course of our SUSTRACK project. But for the ones who are joining for the first time, maybe I can very briefly explain what we are aiming at and who we are in the first place. So this is a coordination and support action. 3 years ago, we started running, and now this is our officially last week to deliver all the outputs. And we are aiming at assessing the environmental, social, and economic impacts of the linear economy, as well as the potential improvement associated with circular systems. And the second aim was supporting policymakers in their efforts to develop sustainable pathways to replace fossil and carbon-intensive systems with sustainable, circular, and bio-based ones, and in the meantime contributing to achieving the European Green Deal's objectives. We are 11 partners from 6 European countries, including Italy. We are Unitelma Sapienza from Italy. We have also University of Ferrara, Knowledge, and FVA on board. We have Spain contributing with Tecnalia and Circe, also Wageningen Research from the Netherlands, Ghent University from Belgium, Pedal Consulting from Slovakia, and DBFZ and BAM from Germany. And very quickly, I'm diving into the SUSTRACK's approach for policy recommendations. So just to set the scene, we have a starting point of what type of barriers exist hindering this transition and what type of challenges are faced by the sectors that we investigated in SUSTRACK. And we developed a multi-step strategy to reach the solutions to these questions, more specifically in terms of concrete policy actions. So how did we do this? First, we started with a working definition of circular bio-based economy and what it means for SUSTRACK, since there has been no agreed upon definition in the literature so far. Then for the identification of barriers and challenges, we conducted intensive, comprehensive literature reviews and then used the stakeholder inputs to detect what are the main outputs and condensing them in a meaningful, easily digestible way and detecting the gaps. And afterwards, we started the identification of good policy examples and drafted actionable policy options, where we also identified strengths and weaknesses of each policy instrument that we brought to table. And during the course of our project, we organized numerous stakeholder engagement activities to discuss the solutions and targets as we developed them, and finally resulting in a prioritized set of policy instruments. In the meantime, various work packages provided support and empowered the recommendations developed in terms of policy actions, and these were supported by the creation of a dashboard using system dynamics modeling and facilitating high-level stakeholder discussions on policy options. And from this slide on, I will be mainly presenting the results. However, more detailed reports, publications, and fact sheets are already available on our website. So if you haven't done so, I encourage you to check our website for more information for a specific topic that you might be interested in. And here I start with the definition of circular bio-based economy. And we use the multi-layered definitions, setting the SDGs as the overarching goals in this structure. We added specific objectives highlighting key goals represented in SDGs or intermediate goals contributing to the SDGs, such as climate protection, competitiveness and jobs, sustainable resource management, supply and food security. Then we inserted principles and means layers pointing to specific ways of achieving the goals and objectives, but are not implementable policies yet. And these principles included greenhouse gas emission reduction, resource use efficiency, and decoupling resource use from economic growth, while means aim to use different resources or diversification, or use resources differently, such as our principles. Finally, we have policy instruments in the center that are translating means into actions. And starting with the identified and prioritized barriers to this transition, this is the material that we communicated before very often with you probably, so I will make it very short. We had a literature review, stakeholder consultation, and multi-criteria decision analysis methods to reach a final list of 31 barriers divided into 6 clusters, among which economic and governance clusters stood out as the most important ones. We also identified the main barriers per cluster, so just one barrier for each cluster that are the most significant ones. The economic cluster, in the economic cluster, we identified investment, financial practices, and cost competitiveness of bio-based products as the main barrier. In the governance cluster, competing political interests with fossil-based industries and the lack of coherence between policies. For the environmental one, the need for enhanced knowledge, standardized methodologies, and sustainable management. The technical one was lack of recycling capacity, insufficient technology development, low quality and amount of recycled materials. In the cultural one, consumers' confusion and lack of trust due to unclear sustainability claims and/or misinformation related to the circular bio-based products. And lastly, the structural cluster included the lack of collaboration between value chain actors and the lack of established markets for byproducts. As said before, we also conducted a case study analysis, and we defined a case study as a specific value chain or specific product or combination of both. And then we collected a broad list of selection criteria to be used for screening what could be the potential case study. We investigated 4 sectors, being chemicals, construction, plastics, and textiles, since they have a very carbon-intensive nature and they call for an urgent transition. Using a multi-criteria decision method, we applied the selection criteria and ended up with 11 case studies as the shortlisted ones. And we already conducted literature reviews, stakeholder events, and prepared very detailed fact sheets for each case study that you see here in this list. And we also identified some overarching challenges that are faced in all the sectors of interest. This is what I will be presenting here. So we identify these challenges, we cluster these challenges into three different categories, being the market challenges, sustainability challenges, and policy and governance challenges. In terms of market challenges, the costs remain a major obstacle, making the bio-based and more circular products too expensive to compete with other mostly fossil-based products. The second overarching factor in the market challenges was secure and sufficient availability of bio-based raw materials is complex and costs are often relatively high. Bio-based and circular materials continue to face major sustainability challenges due to limited knowledge, low awareness, and common misconceptions about performance, durability, and sustainability of bio-based and circular materials. And regarding policy and governance challenges, existing regulations still prioritize traditional materials and often overlook or inadequately accommodate the unique properties and performance benefits of bio-based and recycled materials. Limited policy stimulation given to recyclability, lowering footprints, and prevention of non-degradable losses to the environment is another challenge. And finally, no mechanisms are yet in place to prevent greenwashing, unfounded circularity, and sustainability claims. And then we used a system dynamic modeling approach, investigating how different policy pathways could drive this transition. To this aim, green economy model was used by applying a system-based approach to link industrial production, resource use, energy consumption, emissions, and socioeconomic indicators. Again, very detailed materials are already provided on our website, so here I focus more on the usefulness of this information in terms of policy recommendations. And the simulation results could also be interpreted how the transition scenarios would affect the performance in terms of reaching several SDGs. And to reach to these results, we created three main scenarios. The first one being the baseline scenario that assumes current trends continue in the future with no ambition of a circular bio-based economy. The second one was the biotransition scenario, emphasizing transition aspects and status quo policy objectives with focus on implemented existing policy goals towards a circular bio-based economy. And finally, the most ambitious one was the biorevolution scenario, integrating new and more ambitious goals, aiming at a rapid transformation towards a fully circular bio-based economy. And focus countries were selected based on sectoral relevance, economic scale, and greenhouse gas emissions. And accordingly, Germany was selected for construction and plastics simulations, Netherlands for chemicals, and Italy for the textiles. And again, here I will be presenting the overall results from the system dynamic simulation. The interpretation of the results revealed the potential of a stronger and more resilient economy, providing a greater value addition and reducing negative externalities. And under such conditions, the bio-based industry can offset value losses and result in a net economic gain, even with policies that reduce consumption. Regarding the use of sustainable biomass, here we have the rising biomass demand can be met sustainably by using marginal and abundant land, avoiding deforestation, and safeguarding productive farmland. And the countries of interest were analyzed to see that if they can meet the biomass needs, and the results reveal that only 1/3 to 1/2 of their available marginal and abundant land would be enough to meet this demand. And finally, on trade-offs and policy implication, transitioning to bio-based products requires balancing land use, environmental protection, and economic restructuring in certain sectors. And policy complementarity, such as promoting wood-based construction and protecting forest carbon sinks, is needed to ensure employment creation, ecosystem preservation, and prevent indirect land use change. And as I briefly introduced, one of our overall aims was to develop a monitoring and assessment framework that could help us better understand how countries are progressing in their transition towards a circular and sustainable bioeconomy. And we structured this around three main objectives. The first one was to support the understanding of good management of the transition. And we developed spider charts and benchmarking functions that allow users to assess performance across countries, highlighting strengths, weaknesses, and areas where additional efforts are needed. In practice, this is implemented in the CBE dashboard module of the SUSTRACK monitoring tool, which is online. If you want to play with it, please feel free to click on the link or just go to the monitoring system of SUSTRACK. And here users can select specific countries and years to carry out customized benchmark analysis. The second objective was to elicit connections between indicators, SDGs, and benchmarks. For this, we designed heat maps that show how bioeconomy indicators align with the Sustainable Development Goals, making visible the synergies and the trade-offs that can characterize the transition process. And this could help policymakers and analysts see not just where progress is being made, but also how improvements in one area might affect the other one. The third objective was to facilitate access to existing resources. We therefore created the CBA indicators repository, a consolidated database that gathers indicators relevant to the bioeconomy. I will explain this better in an upcoming slide. And overall, we focused on bringing together existing knowledge, data, and tools to make bioeconomy monitoring more accessible, coherent, and useful. And here you see two quick snapshots from the benchmarking analysis included in the SUSTRACK tool. On the left-hand side, you see the results for sustainable and renewable resource use area. On the right-hand side, there is the bioeconomy competitiveness and jobs. For both graphs, Italy is used against European average for the year of 2022 and for the year of 2021. So here we can compare the performance. For example, if we look at the left side, sustainable and renewable resource use, we see that Italy is in line with or above the EU average for most indicators, but there is one weak point for total food waste generation. Instead, for the right-hand side, we have again, Italy performing better or in line with the European average, but not at the top level yet, so that it is below the maximum score of 6. And finally, the monitoring tool also includes the CBA indicators repository, as said before, and this can serve as a gateway to existing knowledge and data sources in the bioeconomy. Here, users can filter indicators by different criteria on the left-hand side, for example, by theme, application level, or by the relation to the SDGs and societal objectives of the European bioeconomy strategy. This makes it much easier to navigate the wealth of information available across Europe and to quickly identify which indicators are most relevant to specific policy question or research need. And overall, the SUSTRACK monitoring tool currently integrates more than 500 indicators, all mapped to the SDGs, making it one of the most comprehensive and user-friendly resources available for monitoring the bioeconomy. And the last topic is the policy development process and the main takeaways from the overall analysis. We started our analysis with a comprehensive AI-assisted literature review to collect policy options for transition. We organized several rounds of stakeholder consultations to collect additional policy targets and options, as well as discussing strengths and weaknesses of policies, considering evaluation criteria. And then we discussed this set of policy instruments at the European level, but then we further analyzed how they will be preferred and applied at the national level in the countries of consortium partners. So against this background, we created SUSTRACK policy fact sheets and considering three main aspects. The first one was the policy type. So we considered two different types of policies being direct regulation, such as quotas, bans, sustainability criteria, and market-based instruments such as taxes, tradable permits, subsidies. And for this aspect, we mainly focused on hard and binding policies, as we call them, rather than, for example, voluntary schemes. After choosing the preferred policy type, specific policy instruments must be selected and integrated into a consistent policy mix, meaning a combination of several policy instruments. Then the second consideration was the policy function. Transition policies have to fulfill two separate functions at the same time. They have to support circular practices and biomass uses, so promoting transition, but at the same time, they have to consider limit resource use. This helps to limit trade-offs of circular bio-based economy transition, for example, between competitiveness and sustainable resource use. And using policy functions as guidance also helps us navigate within the complexity of the transition. And the final consideration was the policy aim. Transition policies can and should be considered separately depending on their main objective, meaning they could be aiming to promote circularity or efficient use of biomass. Again, this helps us better navigate the complex transition, and therefore policies were categorized according to these aims, which means eventually we created two policy sets for each sector, and one for boosting circularity and the other one for promoting efficient biomass use. So we have 8 fact sheets for all sectors of interest, and they have been already on our website so that you can also check them out. And for each analyzed sector, these policy fact sheets also helped us to provide some exemplary solutions and dedicated policy roadmaps. And from this moment on, just 2 last slides with the policy recommendations. Again, this has a full deliverable dedicated to the policy recommendations, but these are the very main results that we reached. So starting with the direct regulation, when we use direct regulation, these instruments should be complemented with innovation support to ensure that sufficient sustainable options are available for complying with a quota or to mitigate the negative effects of a ban. When using market-based instruments instead, policymakers should add policies to mitigate leakage effects, use rather pricing instruments instead of subsidies to avoid rebound effects, and recycle revenues back to businesses and consumers to improve acceptance of the transition. To address the trade-off between acceptance by businesses or production costs and bureaucracy or transaction costs, policymakers should carefully assess when to use market-based instruments and when direct regulation is favorable or a useful addition. Potentials of market-based policies to limit administrative costs should be identified and exploited to make the transition less bureaucratic. And regarding individual policy solutions, innovation support sustainability criteria for biomaterial uses and quotas for non-fossil feedstocks are plausible options to accelerate the transition. In a market-based policy setting, carbon pricing can be an alternative to quotas and sustainability criteria. We saw that in the sectors of non-packaging plastics and chemicals, quotas are possibly more appropriate instruments, while carbon pricing may be more effective and efficient in sectors such as textiles and construction. Effects of the transition on economic growth and labor markets should be monitored closely. Negative impacts may require macroeconomic policy strategies such as temporary increases in public spending. Intensified innovation support and strategic marketing efforts can help to offset these impacts. And finally, to mitigate trade-offs related to the use of biomass, increasing demand for this resource could be met by designating priority areas for additional biomass production. Such priority areas should be characterized by simultaneously low economic and ecological value, or allow for win-win solutions regarding biomass production and the environment. And with this, I reached the end of my presentation. And if you have any comments, suggestions, or insight, I will be happy to collect them in the chat box, since I don't think we have time to dedicate to Q&A session here. Okay, I leave it back to Valentina.
Okay, not to Valentina, but to me, that I will manage this third session. So this session will use the successful format project to project that was developed by the European Bioeconomy Network and was replicated several times by several projects. And the idea is to bridge projects that are about to finish with the newly founded project, the ones that are starting now, with the aim of maximizing the exploitation of their results, but also to increase the overall impact of our activities. And to that end, we will hear from 10 selected projects dealing with, of course, monitor standardization, labeling, and also monitoring, of course, a quick overview of their results. Results in terms of tools, resources, but mainly on the exploitable assets, so something that can be used by the other projects, but also policymakers and industries. And secondly, we ask to our projects to also provide the key takeaways on key recommendations and lessons learned from their experience. I just have to kindly ask to the project to stay in the 5 minutes that we allocated, because we have a lot of things to be done today. And so I will give straightforward the floor to the first project, that is Biotransform. And Luis, please. Okay, Luis is already sharing. So Biotransform, the floor is yours.
A very good morning, everyone. So yeah, I am here to present the results of Biotransform, which this project got over in July this year. So in this project, we basically focused on the regions. So we had 6 pilot regions, and we were focusing on how we can go from a lot of feedstock available to the optimal transition pathway, so that we can focus our funding to in that regard. So next slide, please. Yeah, so we have designed a 6-step methodology, which started, the first step was always data collection. So when I say data collection, it was the collection of the secondary resources, the regional challenges, like for region, it could be soil pollution, air pollution, unemployment, stuffs like that. And then from there, in the second step, we used we draw the resource conversion routes for different feedstock. So what could be the possible implementation of the available feedstock in the regions? And from this resource conversion drawing, which was of course done with the help of the stakeholders, we went to the third step. We used a multi-criteria traffic light to decide about the pros and cons of different conversion routes. And from this, we selected, based on this traffic light, we selected 3 main conversion route. And from this 3 main conversion route, we used biotransform tools, we call it. So there were 3. One was the resource flow analysis, where we draw the energy and the all the kind of resources that will be used. You can also look at this in our website, which is given there for the 6 regions. And from there we use next slide, please. Next. Yeah. So we had this impact assessment tool, which is basically, for most of these bioeconomy pathways, one thing we all will agree here is there is a lack of data, because most of the products are at a pilot scale. So the whole idea was to find impact assessment tool which is robust, at the same time practical. So we used a kind of a multi-criteria decision matrix, where we have, which is quite flexible, but at the same time can be replicable for different regions. So for each of these environmental, economic, and social scores, we had this multi sub-criteria. Next slide, please. Yeah, so you can see here there were different sub-criterias, and we use stakeholders to weigh these sub-criteria, and then we use experts to assess these sub-criteria. So the assessment was done how the proposed transition pathway will impact each of these sub-criterias. And then at the end, we got a sustainability score. Next slide, please. A sustainability score like this. So what you see here was for Finland, where one of the feedstock we were focusing was lignin. And then here what you see is the 3 lignin valorization pathways, which was one was for anode, adhesives, and plasticizer. And at the end, the scores you are seeing is for the 3 pathways. So this is the way we try to quantify this whole sub-criteria into a simple score. So yeah, this is our method, and feel free to get in touch with us, and please have a look at the website given here. And now the next slide, which will be about our key learnings. Yes, so one of the key learnings was so we all agree again here, I think, that data collection and analysis, there should be a standardized guidelines from about this, so that we can really use this secondary resources and valorize it, and also this will also help us in making strategies. At the same time, we also recommend that regional databases for feedstock availability and its utilization is very important. And defining a contextual, as in SUSTRACK, we saw that they have put together 500 indicators, but I think these indicators, most of the time, the indicators are very contextual to the region. So I think it is very important that we have this contextual set of indicators to monitor the progress towards bioeconomy transition. And then 3, I would say, lesson learned. First would be, so these 3 pillars of sustainability: environmental, social, and economic. It's always like policymakers wants us to put it in a single score, but it is really challenging to put it in a single score. So we should always take this information with a grain of salt whenever we have this accumulated integrated score. The second would be, it is very important to, if you want to involve the stakeholders in your assessment, it is very important to plan some additional budget for them, because there is also lack of time and they have a lot of pressure. So I think this is one of the learning, because we didn't reserve this budget, so we found it hard, and we had to make a low burden approach for our assessment. And the last lesson learned would be, yes, again, it's about when we involve the stakeholders in the assessment, it is very important that we have a broad range of stakeholders to recognize the subjectivity, So I think this is very important for robust decision making. So that's all from my side. Thank you very much.
Many thanks. Many thanks. So I think that we can go straight to the second project, that is Start for BBS. The floor is yours. Please stay in the 5 minutes.
Yes, it will be hard, but I will try. So my name is Nikola Matovic, and in front of you, Berlin, I will share some key exploitable results of Start for BBS and lessons learned. Next slide, please. So basically, there are several key exploitable results from Start for BBS, and I will start with the essential one. Click, please, which is bio-based earth monitoring tool. Next slide, please. So this monitoring system was jointly developed within the bio-based earth cluster, which comprised of our project and also Harmonic and SUSTRACK for bio-based, from which you will hear later, to assess the robustness, comprehensiveness, and the effectiveness of sustainability certification schemes and labels for bio-based systems. So the SUSTRACK BBS has also led the development of its web-based version, and you can find this tool, which is mostly like for the self-assessing of the schemes and labels, but also you can do the Objectify assessments of your chosen certification systems on the portal that you will. Of course, these slides will be shared and you will be able to click, and also you will have here embedded on the left-hand side a video link where you can find more about what the tool is about and how it actually assesses the schemes and labels. Next slide, please. So there are three levels within the bio-based cert monitoring tool, which you will hear about in the video: the system, the content, and the outcome level. The SUSTRACK BBS has coordinated the development of the system level indicators. And here on the left-hand side, you will see the selected 4 categories. Those are the standard setting, assurance, traceability, claims, and governance and scheme management, which comprise of different number of principles within each you have different requirements and criteria to assess the robustness, so the credibility, the transparency, the system design behind the schemes and the labels. Next slide, please. And some other exploitable results. Click, please. I would like to emphasize here the importance of engaging with the target audience from the very beginning of the project to create solid outputs for SUSTRACK BBS. This has been accomplished by the collaboration with the schemes and labels and other stakeholders, but also organization of different events to invite relevant actors, for example, policymakers, industry actors through sector-specific clusters. And we have organized, for example, 3 online training modules, different number of co-creation workshops, not just as a SUSTRACK BBS, but also through the cluster engagement, and webinars and trainings on sustainability certification and standardization, also important topics regarding the EU policy compliance, greenwashing, and so on. Click, please. Different knowledge outputs, including sustainability indicators developed, impacts of CSLs on trade and market, peer-reviewed publication, number of different policy briefs and briefing notes. Next, please. Then we have 10 actionable best practices for harmonizing CSLs, improving policy integration, and also supporting SMEs and smallholders. Next, please. Within the standardization activities, we have initiated a 10 workshop agreement together with our partners on sustainability certification criteria for bio-based system to try to transfer the BMT, the tool conceptualization into standardization activities. Next, please. Regarding the key recommendations and lessons learned, we had numerous recommendations, but some were like project-specific, some were cluster-specific. Some include like the policy alignment, where we try to integrate the robust schemes into EU and national regulations. This is our recommendation for the public procurement and also incentive frameworks to ensure that the credible schemes are rewarded. Then to establish EU-wide criteria for biomass and bio-based products to reduce fragmentation and also to foster comparability, to enhance data infrastructure and transparency, meaning to develop harmonized system and governance frameworks for transparent, consistent certification and trade data between these different actors. Also to support inclusiveness, to simplify certification for SMEs and smallholders via group models, targeted funding, digital tools that can reduce administrative burden and costs. And also to support inclusiveness, meaning to simplify certifications for these, let's say, vulnerable groups. Yeah, sorry, I mentioned that. So next, please. And finally, we have the promoting transparency and traceability, which means to require disclosure of certified content in the products, and not just through mass balance, but also maybe more ambitious chain of custody models, to ensure fair market access through defining clear certification rules for imports and also to domestic products, to ensure a level playing field, to strengthen traceability, and of course to safeguard the credibility of sustainable trade. To leverage digital innovation which means adopting tools like the presented BMT for benchmarking and also for continuous improvement of certification schemes and labels. And finally, to engage cooperation and continuous improvement through benchmarking and policy dialogue as a collaborative process, not compliance-driven, in order to strengthen trust and the uptake. Thank you very much. I hope I was within 5 minutes.
That's great. Many thanks. I just would like to highlight before we move to this project that there are this public consultation open that Michael mentioned. So maybe, Michael, if you want to put also the links to the public consultation, because I think that all these key recommendation and lesson learned might be very, very useful for the European Commission to proceed with the new legislations. Okay,
Yes,
so next, many thanks. You can make no you can put them on the chat. So okay, that's great. So the next one is search for biowaste.
Yes, hello everyone. I'm Iris Vural Gürsa. I'm senior scientist from Wageningen Research. Besides being a partner in the SUSTRACK project, I was the coordinator of this another project called SUSTRACK for Biobase, which is short for Sustainable Certification for Biobased Products. This project ran from last 3 years and was recently finalized in May. If we go to the next slide. So the SUSTRACK for Biobase aims to promote the adoption of effective and robust sustainability certification schemes and labels for industrial biobased systems. So you can see here examples of the schemes and labels that we reviewed as part of this project. So this also shows an overview of the activities we performed, which includes review and analysis of schemes and labels, global trade flow analysis, and at the heart of it was the design and testing of the biobased cert monitoring tool in collaboration with our sister projects, where SUSTRACK for Biobase led the development of the content level. And then we also had the cost-benefit assessment with the novelty of internalizing of externalities for evaluating the feasibility of adoption of certification schemes. And we used all these findings in deriving recommendations for 4 key stakeholder groups. So industrial actors, sustainable system actors, policymakers, and regional bioeconomy actors. So next slide. So this slide provides a summary of the main assets from our projects, which includes classification of biological resources and biobased products, a catalog of certification schemes and labels for industrial biobased systems, identification of most representative biobased value chains, global trade flow analysis on selected value chains, which includes also the extent of their certification. And then there was also the biobased cert monitoring tool and its testing on selected CSLs, and then cost-benefit analysis for sustainability certification, and finally recommendations to target the stakeholders in as thematic briefs for each of these target groups. Next to the assets, you also see the deliverable numbers, which you can find on our website and through our Zenodos site. So for the next slide, I would focus on our biobased monitoring tool. Again, next slide. So as I mentioned, we led the contents level, which is related to the sustainability requirements contained in the certification schemes and labels. Following review of relevant literature, such as schemes, standards, but also policy, benchmarking tools, and all relevant studies, we made a collation of categories, and under those principles and within them criteria, and under those requirements. So you here see that we have 4 categories which are with equal consideration of the 3 pillars of sustainability, that are environment, social, and economic. And we decided to include circularity as a 4th dimension, a category, to ensure that the biobased products can play an important role for the circular economy. So from here, you can also see that under each of these categories, we have a list of principles and then if you click again, you can also see that under each of these principles, we have a list of criteria and requirements. So as an example, under the social category, we have the labor and human rights principle. And under that, we also defined certain criteria for under each of these principles. And then the requirements were defined how this criteria would be met. And we also considered that there would be different tiers of requirements. So we also distinguish between mandatory, basic, and advanced requirements. So the idea is that we have requirements that would be like minimum requirements, then basic are related to more descriptive, detailed requirements. And we also defined advanced requirements. So these we consider as aspirational requirements, which the schemes could consider in their future revisions to drive continuous improvements of the schemes and accordingly the operators getting certification. So the next slide. So the key recommendations and lessons learned from this project, I can summarize that. So it's important to include equal consideration for the environmental, social, and economic considerations. And we see there was still quite a gap in terms of circularity. So this is important to include in the certifications, and it should go beyond just waste management. We considered the BMT that we developed as an important tool, which could be used for policymakers, for example, as a co-regulation instrument, and also to drive continuous improvement of certification schemes. It was seen that monitoring trade flows was quite challenging. So what we need is to have differentiated codes for bio-based products so that you know what is fossil part, what is the bio-based product for these product categories. This calls for collaboration between statistical agencies, custom authorities, industries, and scheme owners. Additionally, for cost-benefit analysis, when we wanted to internalize externalities, the data finding was quite challenging. So the recommendation here is that key environmental and social impacts from certification schemes should be more statistically reported. And finally, it's very important to foster cross-sector discussions, including scheme owners, policymakers, and industry leaders to drive innovation, harmonization, and long-term sustainability improvements. Thank you.
Many thanks, Iris. So the next project will be our monitor. Meanwhile, I see that Michael put the public consultation on the chat. So please all, let's contribute because it's very important. So our monitor, the floor is yours.
Yes, hello everyone. My name is Li Shen. I'm presenting together with my colleague Molidia. We are from Utrecht University. Harmonitor is one of the one of the 3 projects that we work together on the bio-based certificate system, and the Harmonitor stands for Harmonization and Monitoring Platform for Certification Schemes and Labels to Advance Sustainability of Bio-based Systems. Next slide, please. Could you click one more? Yes, thank you. So this project has been consists with quite some partners of university and research institutes, with quite experienced consultancy companies and leaders of developer sustainability tools, and also the certificate bodies, a number of them. The project has quite a different output. It's quite similar to the other 2 projects we just heard, but we took a slightly different approach. There are tools developed. We are going to explain a bit more on the monitoring tools for the CSLs, but other than that, we also have developed a number of interesting tools. Could be interested for maybe to share the result here. We developed the interactive trade flow maps we covered quite a bit of commodity feedstocks and bio-based products. You can see how trade flow goes in and out European Union. And the trade data, the EU trade data has been also compiled based on the, the Comnex and the Comtrade database. These are all available as output. And if you look at closely, we have the block 3 here. We have also developed the direct cost certification. So you could also do the cost composition and calculator, which is also available from the project. If you're interested in this, these are all available on the Harmonitor website. If you give one more click to the slides, and we want to highlight here is the let's say the monitoring system that we developed within Harmonitor, which is a part of the BMT, and that we focus on the outcome, the impact of certification schemes. And I will give the floor to Molidia, who largely developed and contribute to this tool.
Yes, thanks, Lee. Could you please click the slide? Yes. Okay. So as Lee already mentioned, this monitoring tool is also part of the broader bio-based cert monitoring tool, where STAR4BBS and Cert4Biobased were also involved in. But for our part, our aim is to develop a streamlined methodology for monitoring the measurable progress of a scheme over time. And that is our interpretation of how we can measure the impacts of certification schemes and labels. In this framework, we adopted longitudinal focus as the core evaluation lens, meaning that we wanted to see how to what extent certification schemes and labels have been progressing towards its intended sustainability objectives. And to do so, we take into consideration three temporal dimensions here. That is output or direct or short result of certification, outcome, or what we interpret as medium-term impacts of certification, and impact as and what we interpret as long-term impacts of certification. And to do so, we also take into consideration indicators that can be assessed both quantitatively and or qualitatively through two different data sources. The first one is the data that is provided by the scheme and label owners themselves through their certification process, for example, and external sources such as the scientific literature done by independent parties. Next, please. And to also give you an idea of what the results look like, so we have a similar structure as what STAR4BBS and SUSTRACK have presented. So we started with categories, principles, criteria, and indicators. The framework itself is built on these two categories, which measurable progress of certificate holders and measurable progress of schemes and label owners, which basically explain, or which basically explains the mechanism through which schemes and labels are expected to create impact. So on the measurable progress of certificate holders, it is expected that schemes or labels create impact on their certificate holders through the encouragement or requirement for the certificate holders to advance on one or more sustainability areas of concern. Whereas for the measurable progress of schemes and label owners, the idea behind it is that the schemes and labels would create or generate impacts by keep raising the sustainability bars of their standards through, for example, incorporating the progress that their certificate holders made as advancement in scientific field, change in policy landscape, and so on. And in the interest of time, I will not go into one by one, but you can see the example evaluation
You're already
points
beyond
here.
the 5 minutes. Please try to go to the yeah.
Yes, sure. And then you can just click next. This is just the example. Click one more, please. This is example of our criterion, and if you click one more, you can see the example of the indicator. And then go to the next slide, please. And this is we also wanted to share some key lesson learned from this project, or from this this monitoring tool. First of all, if you click one more time, we see that there has been a growing focus on impact monitoring across or amongst the certification schemes and label owners. At the very minimum, they have adopted theory of change or similar framework that guides their monitoring system. But if you click next, so far the monitoring that they have done is mainly on the performance monitoring, meaning that they only at the moment limited to the direct result of certification schemes, while the long-term impact is rather still overlooked. And there's still also gaps in impact evaluation and reporting, and that this is also an opportunity for both researcher and certification schemes owners to collaborate together, because through this testing we also learned that the demonstration of measurable progress relies on infrastructure resources, but also on collaboration with other stakeholders. Thank you.
Many thanks. Great. I would like to highlight the fact that all the contacts, the people are here. So all these very, very interesting points could be elaborated further with one-to-one. So one of the main objective of this activity is also to facilitate the exchange and further elaboration. So I give the floor to the next project, that is C2ACT. Daniel.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I'll be quick. So C2ACT is a coordination support action project. It aims to empower the CE countries, Central Eastern European countries, to develop their circular bioeconomy strategies and action plans. Next slide, please. Thank you. We have 17 partners, 10 CE partners. At the beginning of the project, these 10 CE partners didn't have a national bioeconomy strategy. Those are represented in dark green, and the ones in brighter green are what we like to call contributing or more experienced partners who already had a national bioeconomy strategy and therefore significant experience on the matter. In terms of tools and resources, to name a few, we have created 10 national bioeconomy hubs in these 10 CE countries. And we are very proud of them, and we are hoping that we are aiming and hoping that they will continue when C2ACT ends, which is the end of this year. In fact, I'm very confident that almost all of them will continue, because some of them were already built on existing initiatives, and some of them already established mutual agreements or cooperation agreements with future projects and initiatives. So they will be continuing with those hubs. We are currently developing or finishing the 10 national bioeconomy roadmaps for each of these 10 CE countries. These will be building on, of course, existing knowledge and resources, and will be tailored to the specific CE countries. And in almost all cases, actually in all cases, all of these roadmaps have been developed together closely with the local bioeconomy stakeholders. I should have mentioned now that C2ACT is a bottom-up approach project. So we've been trying to involve as many stakeholders from the bottom up as possible. We've also developed 4 digital e-solutions, one inventory of best practices within the bioeconomy, one e-learning platform, one self-assessment tool, and one matchmaking tool, which is almost like bioeconomy Tinder. I'll put a link in the chat after my presentation for all of these. Our contributing partners, with the lead of Wageningen University and RISE, have developed a training program and knowledge agenda chapter to build capacity and advance the bioeconomy strategies in the CE region. So this has been a very useful back and forth between CE countries and contributing countries, and sharing what worked for them and what didn't, which is also very useful. And we also have scientific publications and 4 policy papers, and of course reports that are available on our website, which I will share as well. Next slide, please. Thank you. In no particular order, so apologies if I'm not going in order, because this is a coordination support action. It's rather political, even though it's bottom up. If anyone in the future is considering a coordination support action in the CE region, I would recommend that on day 1 you get in touch with the ministry that has the mandate for developing the national bioeconomy strategy, even if it's a bottom-up project, because their involvement is, of course, crucial. They should be invited and involved at any step. I would also mention that as you probably know, there are multiple similar synergistic projects that have to create similar results running parallel, and it's always highlighted by the Commission that we should not duplicate and we should cooperate. So I've mentioned that there. That's very important to make sure that there are as many memorandums of understandings and cooperation agreements between initiatives and projects, so we don't step on each other's toes and we continue each other's work. Evolution, not revolution. Make sure, of course, that you build on what's there, what's existing. For instance, for our roadmaps, we had done existing work before we even started, so we don't write something that was already written down years ago. Co-create from the start. This is relevant for everything, but also for the roadmap. So the sooner we can involve our stakeholders in our hubs or in your hubs and the roadmaps, the better. So it's more relevant. Whatever you're doing is more relevant and reflects your country's needs. Keeping tools and outputs alive. For instance, the digital tools. It's also a good idea, and we managed to do it to try to involve the tools that we've created into future projects. So the future project that has a similar, of course, goal and aim can improve on it and build on it. So we don't have to create, for instance, an e-learning tool every new project. Networking relentlessly. I'm personally not very skilled in networking, but I have to say that it's incredibly important. So being at any event at any cost is crucial, because an email won't reach a target, but you go there with a cup of coffee and face-to-face, everything is much better. And over the 3 years of SUSTRACK, I've managed to develop a very good network, at least here in Hungary. I'm also moderating the Hungarian SUSTRACK Bioeconomy Hub. So that's a key point. And lessons learned as a last point. What we found difficult, at least for SUSTRACK, is to devise workshops or events that attract all kinds of stakeholders. By that I mean industry partners, SMEs, for instance, have a very different interest, and they want to hear about very different things. Let's say finance, whereas research, academic people, for instance, or policymakers, again, have a very different interest. So that was a challenge for us. That's something that we could improve on in future projects. But with that, thank you very much, and I wish you all the best for your future projects. And I'll link everything I mentioned in the chat. Sorry.
Many thanks, Daniel. So a little bit beyond the schedule, but let's go quickly to Robin. And so the floor is yours.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I will try to be quick as well. So yeah, I'm Clementine Roth from Steinbeiß Europazentrum, and I'm representing Robin. Actually, the project ended in August, but my organization was actually responsible for doing synergies and collaboration. And I definitely agree with all the lessons learned, what Daniel just mentioned. So I fully agree that they are all important. Yeah, you can click the next slide. So about Robin, I just thought I will show you the whole picture of our toolbox. And so in the project, what we wanted, or through our toolbox, we wanted to support European regions in designing and in implementing effective bioeconomy governance models and strategy. And how do we want to do this? By developing this toolbox and by providing first inspiring bioeconomy governance models and good governance practices. And this is done in our knowledge platform. This is a part on the left in dark green. And then we also provide practical tools for circular bioeconomy governance. And this is here, the middle part in brown. We have 3 tools, which I will in a minute develop a bit more. And then we also support through tailored support through our support actions portfolio. So here you have the QR code. You can just have a look. And for each of these tools and components, you have a very clear guideline, users, and step-by-step guide. So it really if you have time, just have a look. So now a bit more about each of these three tools. The circular bioeconomy, no, still on my first previous slide, thanks. The circular bioeconomy governance model canvas. Here it's a co-creation tool, which is allowing each region to design a vision and to identify support actions that are needed in order to implement this vision. So it provides a structured framework in order to develop and to implement circular bioeconomy governance models through and thanks to the input of local stakeholders. So it is meant to be used in a workshop setting and to gather both regional authorities as well as key local stakeholders. The second tool is the policy monitoring system. Here it is really intended for policymakers, and it is made of two components. The policy monitoring tool itself, which contains 20 indicators that helps capturing key aspects of bioeconomy performance and impact. And then you have the policy monitoring progress tracker, which helps monitoring the progress made. So the idea here for this tool is that the policymakers can get inspiration when they are planning and formulating and implementing bioeconomy policies. It is helping them also to evaluate the performance of their regional governance models. And then they also get some suggestion in terms of how to take corrective action. And the final tool, the environmental protection planning tool, here is also meant for policymakers, but a bit broader target audience, also their advisors, practitioners, and also consultants. And so here it helps, or it facilitates the identification of potentially non-eco-friendly practices. So this tool, you can use it in two phases. The first is the assessment phase. So you would gather information about indicators which are relevant for you, identify barriers, and then actually at the end you will get an automatic evaluation of how you perform. And then based on this, you should prioritize which sector you want to address first, and then you go into the next phase, the action phase, where here you are organizing a meeting and inviting at the same table the relevant actors, not only the regional authorities, but also the relevant departments, municipal entities, or further external consultants. And here the idea is to define actions in order to improve the performance in the different indicators. So that would be it for our three tools. And then in the last slide, I just wanted to highlight actually three main resources, which deals with recommendations, and they are all on our website. So we have a white paper, we have policy briefs, and we have joint policy recommendations. These joint policy recommendations were actually made in cooperation with several projects, including SUSTRACK. So just showing that it is important to collaborate and synergize. And here, just wanted to highlight three recommendations from our white paper, we had like 7 strategic areas. One is about data-driven monitoring and evaluation, and so these 3 recommendations is to establish robust monitoring frameworks, to adopt data-driven decision-making, and to strengthen evaluation mechanisms. Partly you could do this through, for instance, using our tools. And regarding our joint policy recommendations, here I wanted to highlight 2 recommendations. One is the need to support regions in defining sets of indicators to monitor the progress of regional strategies, but also the need of creating a bioeconomy skills certification system. And as 3 lessons learned, and I'm done, from our project, we can say that replication is feasible and scalable, and that stakeholder inclusion is central, so just feeding what Daniel said, and also that cross-regional learning is essential, so that the different regions help each other in order to avoid people use what the previous did, so that can go straight in terms of implementing and devising efficient strategies and efficient monitoring. Thanks a lot.
That's great, Clementine. Many thanks, and thanks to all of you to also highlight the very important role of those type of activities connecting projects, and this is supported since 2018 also by the European Bioeconomy Network, that we would like to thanks for the support in organizing this event. So the next project is 3CO. John, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Susanna, and welcome everybody. My name is John Vos, and I will tell you a little bit about the project Concise Consumer Communication through Robust Labels for Bio-Based Systems, or 3CO as we know it. The project aims to support sustainable consumption and to improve consumer behavior through smart digital solutions and guidelines for labeling and certification. And the project has 3 research streams that yield research findings to inform a 4th synthesis stream. The first one is the specifics of labeling bio-based products and what can be learned from good practices in the field. The second is to better understand consumer needs and particularities around consumer-focused communication, specifically through labeling. Then the third pillar is about the scope and potential benefits of including social innovation practices. And the 4th pillar is the synthesis of 3 co-results in the formulation of policy recommendation. Next slide, please. Firstly, regarding labels, we made a selection of 10 bio-based product chains and also a selection of 25 key labels and certification schemes for bio-based products. We assessed how these schemes communicate with consumers in terms of logo and website, what environmental and social criteria they include, what can be considered best practices, and if there is any room for improvement. In addition, we assessed the robustness and the effectiveness of these schemes. And finally, we researched the relevance, affordability, and economics of these schemes, assessing both the direct and the indirect cost of certification. And at the end of this pillar, a synthesis report was compiled of findings regarding the coverage of labels and certification schemes, of environmental and social criteria, their robustness and effectiveness, and their cost and affordability. Then the second pillar, it's already on the screen, is about citizens or consumers. Here we arranged a large quantitative survey to gain insight on consumer drivers and concerns regarding sustainability issues and willingness to use a labeling system for sustainable decision making. And this survey covered 3,000 respondents from 10 EU member states, 300 per country. A first result of the survey was the segmentation of consumers. And based on their views towards sustainable development, 3 consumer segments were identified, and you see nice illustrations of those: the passive skeptics, the active advocates, and the convenience seekers. Next, in focus group discussions that were held in 4 countries, we investigated citizens' stand on handles for changing behavior, such as capabilities, opportunities, motivation, and willingness. And a key conclusion of these focus group discussions was that there is a lot of confusion, and with targeted information, confusion decreased, and thus there's a strong potential for education. A third output of this second pillar is the 3Co app, which is a digital solution with integrated AI algorithm and gamification elements to support consumers to make informed, sustainable purchasing decisions. And at the end of the work in this pillar, a set of guidelines on the design of labels for bio-based products from a consumer viewpoint was put together. Then we have the third pillar, social innovation. And this is the pillar I personally had the pleasure of leading. And in this pillar, we produced a brochure with 17 inspiring social innovation best practices, showcasing different models and approaches with the potential to change society at large. Then a selection of these best practices examples was rephrased by partner Nova in a format that is inspiring for the younger generation. And this is the poster of hidden objects, available in half a dozen languages. And the result of this social innovation work, which was completed just before summer, is a policy paper on social innovation. Then the fourth pillar. Next slide, please. The work in the fourth pillar started only recently and is pretty much still in progress. And please note that the project will run for another 3 months until the end of January next year. Among others, we reviewed 20 EU policies, mainly linked to the Green Deal, to map the policy landscape and to spot any gaps. Building on the outcomes of pillars 1, 2, and 3, we formulated draft policy recommendations towards the regulatory framework for consumer-based labeling of bio-based products and services. And last month, we presented draft policy recommendations at a 3Co stakeholder workshop, and the feedback collected is being incorporated in the final version of the policy recommendations. Then the final slide. I think I have 1 minute left. On labels and labeling schemes, labels are essential, but must be robust, clear, and trusted. And most schemes provide solid environmental and social coverage, but lack consistency in depth. On consumers and labels, it's recommended to simplify and unify information on bio-based products, to promote perceived personal benefits, and to improve the knowledge about bio-based products and certifications. Regarding social innovations build trust, encourage cooperation, and create new ways of living. And windows of opportunities work on social innovations are provided in 2026 and 2027 in the frame of the EU policy developments. And finally, regarding policy, a coherent, ambitious EU framework can build consumer trust, drive sustainable business models, and support the bioeconomy at a real climate solution. Sorry for being so fast, but I think I stayed within 5 minutes. Thank you.
Many thanks, John. You were perfect. Okay, so here you will receive all these presentations very soon. There will be also the recording of this day in the SUSTRACK YouTube channel. So you will have all this information collected in a single place, and it's time to go to BioRadar.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you also for collecting such a brilliant project here. It's very interesting. So I also will try to be short. On behalf of Hamburg University of Applied Science team, I will present our tools and results for BioRadar project. Next slide, please. The project is going on already from 2023 and is about to be finished in 2026. So the main goal is to support organizations, policymakers, and investors with tools to promote sustainable bio-based systems, addressing material circularity gaps, evaluating environmental and social impacts, and also enabling benchmarking and self-assessment, which is very well in line with today's topic of this meeting. So the main tools that are developed during our project are bio-based system transition indicators framework, benchmarking tool, self-assessment tool, regulatory tracking tool, implementation scorecard, replication facility, and massive online open online course, and standardization in the bio-based industry. Most of them are digital, and you can check them on our website, BioRadar. I will present only the tools that my team was responsible for. Next slide, please. So first of all, it's implementation scorecard. That's innovative and qualitative tool for SMEs to assess their contributions to SDGs, because we understood that, for example, for especially small enterprises, it's very difficult to measure indicators and to collect all the data as we used to with big databases, and it could be very time consuming and expensive for them. So we developed very simple questions within the 3 different areas. It's biotextile, biopackaging, and biofertilizers. So it's really tailored to these 3 different segments. And so any representative of SME could measure their impacts on environmental, social, economic, and circularity dimensions. This also will help to translate broad SDG language into concrete, sector-specific questions and KPIs, and provide also different recommendations for the companies. It will help companies to identify gaps and opportunities for improvement, and also could be used as a marketing tool for these companies. The next slide, please. As well, we were responsible for replication facility. You can see that in this replication facility, we had BioRadar environment, so different digital tools that were developed by the other partners of the project. You can click next slide. Yeah, so our solution, next slide. Introduction about the BioRadar project, next slide. Here we have our MOOC, and next slide. Other resources. So on this digital platform, we collected all useful information for different stakeholders. Also our solutions, our MOOC, and other resources that could be useful for the stakeholders. Next slide. About the MOOC a little bit, so we divided into 4 different paths. So it's for general public and consumers, also for public organizations and policy makers, as well as for industry and commerce, and for researchers. So you can see the different levels of stakeholders and different needs and the details of the MOOC information provided for different stakeholders. Also, we included cooperation where different participants, they can exchange information, connect, and share different results. The next slide, please. Yeah. So as you can see, we also developed a framework for this MOOC as well. So we included information for technical perspective, from business perspective, and from a legal perspective. So we oriented on different needs for different audience. In technical perspective, there were more about environmental aspects, for example, LCA, LCC, different carbon removal potential. For business perspective, we included business models for bio-based systems. For legal perspective, we included standardization in bio-based systems, regulatory landscape, so different information and tools for different audience. As well as, introduction was also divided depending from the stakeholders. We included understanding the circular bioeconomy, definitions, benefits, and challenges, as well as introduction to bio-based transition framework. This was more for a legal perspective. And we included case studies.
Can you shorten, because we are getting
the last one.
beyond the schedule? Okay.
Yeah, the last slide, please. Yeah, so that's just an example how it looks like. Next one. Okay, so key recommendations and lessons learned about the scorecard. We can definitely say that it's very difficult to make a scorecard relevant without continuous expert involvement, especially considering that we tailored it to different areas, biotextile, biopackaging, and biofertilizers. Also, validation through pilot testing and expert review is essential, and industry engagement is particularly challenging. So it's very difficult to involve the industries and SMEs especially. For MOOC, you need to offer differentiated learning tracks for industry practitioners, policy actors, and investors. And for replication facility, need to establish a tailored structure framework for replication support. Next slide, please. In case we have representatives of SMEs here, we are inviting them for our replication workshop, which is going to be 11th of November. And we aim to understand what type of recommendations would be the most valuable for SME and how the tool can be better supported companies' sustainability strategies. So you are very welcome to join. And here is a QR code to registration form. Thank you very much.
Okay, many thanks, Maria Maraya. Okay, so I think we need to rush to the next step. So for that is the roundtable policy to projects. It will be very interesting because we will get information from the several policy officers. And I give the floor for that to our coordinator, Pier Giuseppe Morone from Unitelma Sapienza.
Thank you very much, Susanna. Welcome, everybody. And it's very good to have this roundtable right after the policy project-to-project session, because I really think that we've learned a lot from this quick presentation of several projects. And I think this can be some very relevant starting and food for thought for the policy officers that will be populating this roundtable. So let me welcome the 4 policy officers that will be at the roundtable. Start with Silvia Maltagliati, Policy Officer at the European Commission DG RTD in the Circular Economy and Bio-Based Systems Unit. Hello, Silvia.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Pier Giuseppe. Hello.
Ciao, good morning. Then we have Pierre Mathieu Pellissier, Science and Policy Officer at the European Commission DG RTD, the unit Bioeconomy and Food System.
Good morning,
Hello, Pierre.
everyone.
Can't see you.
Can you see me?
Yeah. Okay. So, and then we have Janis Kogolis, Policy Officer, European Commission, DG GROW, Unit Bioeconomy, Chemicals and Cosmetics. Hello, Janis.
Hello. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for the presentations.
Hello. Hi, good morning. And finally, we have Niccolò Giacomo Simur, who is the Executive Director at the CBJU, Circular Bio-Based Europe Joint Undertake. Hello, Niccolò.
Hello, good morning, everybody.
Hi, good morning. So thank you all of you for being here today and for attending the whole session. I've been checking on that. So yes, I guess it's going to be quite relevant, your contribution now after this project-to-project session. So as I was mentioning, we heard a research and practitioner perspective. And the impression I've got is that there is a growing ecosystem around the circular bioeconomy. And there are lots of complementarities between the projects that we have presented. Of course, the SUSTRACK project, but also all the other projects that we have learned about in the previous session. There are a lot of common recommendations I've learned coming from these projects. Now, my question to you, and I would like you to ask in 5 to 6 minutes to the following question is, what is the policymakers' recommendation to these kind of projects in order to boost and reinforce the effectiveness of results obtained for policy objectives, challenges, and priorities? So if you can try to address this question from your perspective, from your specific unit and DG, maybe we can start with Silvia, and then we move on to Pierre, Yanis, and Niccolò. Silvia, please.
Yes, thank you very much, Pier Giuseppe. But first, I would like to congratulate to all the scientists and experts that presented the results from very interesting projects, even very complex. So addressing the whole complexity of the transformation towards a new economy, a new model for an economy that is also just and indeed embrace all the challenges and opportunities of the bioeconomy. So to me, as you know me very well, I think, and I've always often insisted on these points, that seeing all the projects around and all the people here, say, still listening and joining this meeting, what I see very important is that we are building basically a European research area. So we are really building the community of scientists and experts that can speak to policymakers, that can speak to the society, to the civil society as well. So I wouldn't say put the finger on the fact that also the content of the presentations and of the outcomes are really relevant, because we want to do this transformation towards a circular bioeconomy. So we need to include the bio in the future picture of our economy, and this is also coherent with the need to be competitive. And this is also something that it's more and more emphasized by for example, by the next MFF, and also you may have read the proposal from the Commission about the next framework for the support of research, where in fact the bio prefix is really well covered, in the sense that the bioeconomy is recognized as a powerful not only enable, but a powerful frame for the development of our economy, of our just society. But indeed, I also see this point to strengthen the ERA because in fact we need, of course, skilled people. We need to spread knowledge. We need to understand better what this bioeconomy is about and what also circularity is about, what sustainability is about. So in that sense, I would say that I appreciate it very much. Also the network that is now put in place and it is very effective. The EU BioNet is really a very good network, and I see that you are working together on different aspects and you are trying to be as much as possible in synergy and in complementarity to each other. So in that sense, this is my message, that I recognize your value, and I really think that this way of doing science and this way of providing recommendations to policymakers will be supported in the future, in the coming years as well. Thank you. I think that I have to stop here because we are a bit short of time.
Thank you very much, Silvia. If we'll have some time, we'll come back to you. So we can now move to Pierre. Yeah, I'm posing to you the same question. What is actually from your perspective, what is the suggestions that you can give to this project, to this ecosystem, to this growing environment, as Silvia was mentioning, in order to strengthen the relation with policy?
Yeah, thanks for giving me the floor, and congratulations to everyone, because it was a very compelling presentation and very highly interesting subject to listen. On the specific topic of what does projects could do to reinforce policy impact, so we are not drafting a lot of strategies and policies, bioeconomy strategy being one, but we also have the eco design for sustainable products that is ongoing, the EU taxonomy screening criteria, and so on. And so one thing that will be very interesting is to have this two-way dialogue, so that the project ensure that the standards that are being developed are designed by default to be immediately applicable and implementable into the upcoming EU legislation that is being drafted. Because we have these efforts that are going in parallel, the legislation that is being built and the standardization work that is being done as well. But by having a communication during the development of the policy, it's allowed to ensure that the standards you are developing are fit for purpose for the upcoming EU legislation, and not only the existing one, because a lot of change will be made in the legislation in the coming months and few years, actually, and so being reactive and have this dialogue is very important. To come back on the bioeconomy as well, and on the bio-based standards developed, something that we read in the call for evidence for the bioeconomy strategy is that the standards that are being developed should be easily referenced in public procurement rule and voluntary EU label, like the EU label. That's also a very important aspect that was mentioned in the call for evidence. And so together, basically, they really say like the standard should be future-proof and implementable immediately. That's a very agile way of developing the standards. Yeah, and otherwise, that's the efforts you have been conducting as well are very compelling, and so it's a great. All the project demonstrated that there is an effort to reach out to policy and to influence policy making. So it is already very well implemented and very well done. So it was a bit difficult to find an example of how you could go beyond, but based on as I mentioned, the different consultation we've been doing, it's future-proofing and establishing a dialogue as early as possible with the policymaker is quite important.
Thank you very much, Pierre. Yeah, I think that one common thread of all the projects that we have listened to is that they're dealing with something very sophisticated, which is a sustainability assessment. We know it is sophisticated, but there is an effort, a joint effort to simplify this this complexity in order to make it more actionable. And this, I think, goes into the direction that you were mentioning about using this immediately for public procurement, for example, reversing this information, this knowledge into ongoing consultation by the European Commission. Also at the beginning of our meeting today, our policy officer, Michael, was mentioning about the ongoing consultation and the role that SUSTRACK, but along SUSTRACK, all the other projects can have in contributing to this public consultation. So thank you very much for both of you, Silvia and Pierre, for your message. And now we can move to Janice from DG Grow. So Jani, please, what is your take on this and how, from your perspective, these projects can contribute to policy, to development policy measures?
Yes, thank you. I will try to resist and be very short. First, I would like to congratulate SUSTRACK for the impressive work. And as you are the host and you have the final event, you have to take the big applause first, but also for all the other projects that are working in parallel in a synergetic form. And congratulate also on the good cooperation that you demonstrate here and the complementarities that you identify and that you put forward. I would like to stress and draw the attention that we are in a timing of political developments. We had the life sciences strategy this year, where we have also there a link, a direct link on the importance of bioeconomy technologies and how this can be fostered and the innovation there. And we will have in a few weeks' time the publication of the new bioeconomy strategy. I will not be able to unveil a lot of information about the new bioeconomy strategy, not to become a spoiler. But I can say that we have a focus on upscaling of innovation. We have a focus on deployment. We have a focus on, we include improving market enabling conditions, which means standardization, labeling, certification. We have considered all this, and these were also important elements from the public consultation that we received. This is the one part, and the other part that is very important is also the elaboration of work that will come on creating lead markets for different for a number of products and product categories. And there we will also check how we can make also pool tools of the market, so that we, be it now with a public or a private means or mechanisms, so that we push and we ensure a high uptake of a mainstream of bio-based products. And that said, I think as an advice now to your question, what would be the best, what would be recommendable for the projects is to check the published work, because this is not a work that finishes in the new bioeconomy strategy. It's just the kickoff of the new bioeconomy strategy. It is about the work that will come. It is an action plan and how you can best fit into coming and materializing the action plan. There will be a list of actions. There will be a number of caps, let's say, that just will use some keywords. And all this knowledge that you have created is extremely important. And it's not about knowledge, it's also about the community that you have created. And this community should be the key actor of enabling and the development of the new bioeconomy strategy.
Thank you very much, Janice. Yes, I share your points about this mainstream, the need for mainstreaming the bioeconomy and the upscaling technologies. One of the points that I think in SUSTRACK has been touched upon, and I think also in other projects, although it didn't really come up in the discussion today, is the role of consumers in the market and market enabling conditions that you were mentioning. So I think, yes, these are all pieces of the puzzle that have to be put all together: upscaling, consumers' perspective, consumers' view, and then again mainstreaming the bioeconomy along with these standards and certifications that are so much needed. Okay, now we will move on to the last speaker of this roundtable of today, Nicolò Giacomo Zimur, the Executive Director of the CBJU. So Nicolò, please share with us your perspective on this point. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pier Giuseppe, and congratulations to everybody also from my side. Very interesting feedback from your projects. From my side, of course, I am one of the implementing arm of the European Commission regarding the circular bioeconomy, more focused on the industrial development. We work very closely both with DG RTD and DG GROW, so I cannot deviate so much from the feedback given by Silvia, by Pierre Mathieu, and by Ioannis. So definitely my recommendation would be, if I can say, to seek for more complementarities among the different actions that are funded in different parts of the program. So, for example, if Cluster 6 fund a CSA in a certain area, CBJU should fund a CSA in a complementary area to avoid any overlap and to maximize the impact also of the projects. One other thing that I would recommend, especially for our program, because there is a very special feature of the program, is the fact, for example, that we do not have a clearly mentioned feedback to policy approach. So while we are talking policy to projects, in my opinion, it's very, very important that we established, especially for my initiative, the project to policy feedback. There is actually creates this loop. The policy feed the project, but then the project feed back into the policy. This is exactly the work that has been going on in your project, and is particularly important. For example, we did quite a work this year into putting together a dashboard with the policy feedback from our project, and we share this with the colleagues of the Commission, or several departments of the Commission, because we think that having really the feedback from the ground of what are, for example, the regulatory hurdles, and many of them were mentioned today, is a particularly important outcome of this work, an outcome of all our projects. Also because there are plenty of initiatives going on. The colleagues mentioned them, from the bioeconomy strategy to the Biotech Act, but also I can cite, for example, the future common agricultural policy. So there are really a huge range of policy initiatives that are going to happen. The bioeconomy is very high in the priority of the Commission, as mentioned by the colleagues. So it is particularly important to have this loop and to making it as effective as possible. Because the moment for the bioeconomy is now, and we see all these initiatives should also be complementary to each other, without having contradicting messages depending on the DG that is on the lead. And I really appreciate a lot the work done by all the Commission department in seeking a common page in this sense and pushing forward the circular bioeconomy as a whole. And I would stop here since I see we are a bit short in time.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Nicolò, and also for your suggestions. You're pointing the fingers to the fact that we need to increase the complementarities as much as possible. But I think that the kind of meeting that we organized today is actually showing that there is a lot of complementarities. There are, I mean, if there are overlaps, they are just only positive kind of overlaps, and they are reinforcing the kind of output that we are getting. I mean, I think this is the whole idea of research. It's trial and error and confronting all the time. And I also share your view about this two-way kind of collaboration and kind of interaction. It's not just a one-way flow of knowledge. It's actually a two-way flow of knowledge in a circular loop anyway. So again, thank you very much to the four of you for joining us today. I think I will stop it here now, unless there are some very quick and sharp questions from the audience. Otherwise, we can move directly to the final session, which is going to be an open mic session to give the floor and the opportunity to new projects, newly funded projects, to just very briefly introduce their work ahead and their contribution to this ecosystem on circular bioeconomy. I would probably leave now the floor to Gulsa. I don't know if I should keep chairing this session.
So, Pier Giuseppe, I can take on this.
Okay.
Thank you very much. So I will just briefly introduce the representatives of the 6 projects we have for the open mic session. I will ask you kindly to stay in a quick pitch, 1 minute, just to really present your project also in light of what we heard today, both from the projects, so the recommendations from them and from the policy offices that participate to the roundtable. So I just leave the floor to the representative from SUSTRACK project. The floor is yours. Maybe. Otherwise,
Hello.
we can. Okay.
Hello,
Perfect.
can you hear me?
Hello. Yeah,
Yeah,
perfectly.
sorry.
Go
I have
ahead.
some issue with my mic just now. And hi, everyone. My name is Trama from VIP Renewable Energies. I'm pleased here to introduce the ESCAPE project, which stands for Developing Environmental Sustainability and Circularity Assessment Methodologies for Industrial Bio-based Systems. It's a 4-year project. We started in January 2024. And we'll end in 2027, so we are about halfway now. We have 12 partners in the consortium from across Europe, including universities and industrial partners. Our main goal is to develop comprehensive, robust, and operational methodologies to assess the environmental sustainability and circularity of industrial bio-based systems at different technology readiness levels. So we aim for improved life cycle assessment by making it spatially and temporally explicit, so that impacts such as land use changes, biodiversity, water, and soil can be assessed more accurately. Biogenic carbon dynamics are also included to better understand the carbon circularity of bio-based systems, and we also develop circularity assessment methods and indicators that capture the value of cascading use of bio-based resources and improved resource efficiency, supporting low TRL and high TRL applications. To ensure the applicability of the developed future, we will do that, develop methodology in ESCAPE. These methodologies will be tested with our case studies, industrial partners covering sectors like packaging, textile, and chemicals. So during our second half of the project, we will also test and develop recommendations for integrating the coherent methodology into existing certification schemes, guide research innovation in bio-based sectors, and provide policy recommendations at EU and national levels. And if you're interested in our project progress and outcomes, please follow us on our website and social media. I will later post in the chat. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Juan. So I will leave the floor to a representative from BioFairNet. I kindly ask to stay, if possible, in the minute, more or less, a minute and a half. So please, the representative from BioFairNet. Yeah, we hear something.
Okay, can you hear me? Great. Hi, everyone. My name is Asha. I will be introducing BioFairNet, the Bioeconomy and Circular Economy Fair Network, on behalf of Marina Albanese, which is the project manager. This is a 4-year project that started in January 2025, coordinated by the University of Napoli, Federico II. BioFairNet's goal is to transform high-emission agri-food systems into sustainable, circular, and socially inclusive models through decentralized biotechnologies, stakeholder co-creation, and digital tools. Multidimensional sustainability assessment will be carried out in our pilots running in Lesbos, Greece, converting olive mill residues into biochar and syngas, and in Réunion Island in France, the focus is on processing sugarcane vinasse residues and organic waste into biogas and hydrogen. Further validation sites in Kenya and Quebec will validate the tools and solutions. One key aspect of BioFairNet is co-creation. So stakeholders will be helping to shape the sustainability indicators, business models, and the Green Information Factory, which is our AI-powered platform that monitors environmental, social, and economic impacts. This is being developed in collaboration with stakeholders through engagement and workshops, and ensures the platform and tools are relevant, inclusive, practical, and scalable. So as a part of this, we have a short survey designed to gather insights from our stakeholders working in bioeconomy, agriculture, and mining sectors. So this survey asks questions about social priorities and practical challenges. So we will invite you to complete this survey or share it within your network. The survey responses will directly inform the design of the platform, the indicators, and the tools. And in addition, you will have the opportunity to share your experiences and also sign up for the workshops. So I will be sharing the link in the chat so you can have a look or maybe share within your networks, and also the link to our community of practice where we can collaborate, co-create, and support a sustainable transition in agriculture and mining sectors. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Asha. So for all the participants, I also put in the chat the names of the projects that are presenting. So you have also reference, even if they are putting the links. So you will have much more than a reference name. So I will leave the floor now to the representatives, a representative from Simba project. Please take the floor.
Hello, good morning, and thanks a lot for inviting us. I'm Antonietta Pizza, project coordinator of Simba. Simba stands for Securing Local Supply Chains via the development of new methods to assess the circularity and symbiosis of the bio-based industrial ecosystem, enhancing the European competitiveness and resource independence. It's a coordination and protection funded by the REA. The project started on January 2024. And it runs for 36 months. We are now in the middle of the project. We are a consortium of 9 partners from 5 countries. Our final goal is to develop and assess a new methodology for the industrial symbiosis in the bio-based ecosystem. We started with the mapping and assessing of the current industrial symbiosis method and solutions, and we are now in the phase of implementing our own methodology. We are organizing a set of webinars and events, online events, to collect feedback on the methodology we are working on. And we have selected 5 regions that will support us in this approach. We are also preparing policy briefs. The first one will be published in the next few days. I will copy our social media accounts and website on the chat so you can follow our progress. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Antonietta. So I leave now the floor to Stand for Bio project.
Yes, hi everyone. My name is Maria Gustafsson. I work at the Swedish Institute for Standards, and we have just started a project called Stand for Bio, which is short for Mapping and Feasibility Study for Standards on Biotechnology, Bio-based Materials, Bio-based and Wood-derived Products. And we will give an overview of the current landscape when it comes to formal standards and terminology. We will focus on SAN standards, but also ISO standards, so not so much the private schemes as some of the projects we heard about today. And we will develop recommendations regarding needs for new or revised standards or terms and definitions. We will mainly do literature reviews and contacts with the committees that have developed the investigator standards, but we will also do surveys, interviews, and workshops where we will welcome input from a wide variety of sources. We will use an iterative approach due to the nature of the project and also the fast-moving policy landscape that we heard about. Unfortunately, most deliverables will not be public, but summaries will be communicated. So thank you very much.
So thank you, Maria. Super precise with the timing. Really 1 minute, perfect. So I will now leave the floor to Risers project.
Hi, hello everyone. My name is Andrea Motola. I'm the project coordinator of RISE's CSA Action. We heard about the game changer that RISES is focusing on, and this is the industrial symbiosis. So very happy to have Simba here. RISES really is looking at the industrial symbiosis and trying to make it new normal across Europe. And how we are doing that is that we looked at the priority sectors and priority synergies and resources across Europe. And based on that, we are really aiming to develop the European Industrial Symbiosis Standardization Roadmap, which is the end goal of the project. We are currently hosting a plenary session in the beginning of November in Brussels, so you are all welcomed, and I will post about it in the chat. We are also commenting on the current Circular Economy Act and about looking at how end of waste criteria should be maybe reshaped or looked from different directions in order to really facilitate also the industrial symbiosis. So in short, that is us. I know the time is running out and everyone wants to go to the lunch. So dropping RISES linked, and we'll be very happy to be in touch with every one of you.
So thank you very much, Andrea. So we are heading towards the conclusion with the final project to this small open mic session. So I'm welcoming Woodstock Project.
Hello, my name is Iselot. I'm a scientific project manager of the Woodstock project. And in Woodstock, we want to sort of mainstream the use of wood in the construction sector, but not only wood, also underutilized wood streams. So what I mean with that, hardwoods, low quality wood, post-consumer wood, so circular use of wood and damaged wood. We want to do that in a climate smart way. So we're looking at dynamic life cycle analysis and how to do carbon sequestration when you're using circular products, for instance. We, of course, have a work package on standards, norms, and policies. And maybe interesting for you to know, we have 6 living labs spread over Europe. So if you want to give input on how to face these challenges and how to go into the future, very welcome to join. I will also put the link in the chat. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Liselot. So I think we are going to conclude. So to do so, I will leave the floor to Pier Giuseppe and Gulsa for the final remarks. So please, I don't know if we'll close Pier Giuseppe or Gulsa, go ahead.
Okay, I think I will close the meeting. So as Gulsa was mentioning at the opening of this meeting today, by the end of this week, the SUSTRACK project will be over. It's been a 3-year journey that has been really inspiring for a lot of people and has built a lot of networking, allowed us to strengthen the relations within the consortium and outside the consortium. So I'm personally very happy of this project. I think we delivered some very useful outputs, and we've been working greatly with all the partners, and as I was mentioning, also with other partnering projects. This final conference, I would say that has been quite relevant and useful for wrapping up what we have been doing over the last 3 years, but also to learn from other projects that are on their way, and also to new projects that just started. And of course, the policy dimension is paramount in this trajectory. So I really want to thank you all the participants for today's meeting, and I would like to express a special thanks to Gulsa for leading us so well over the last 3 years. I know it's been a major effort for her, moving from Turkey to Italy and taking the lead of this project, but I think she did great, and I really want to thank her, and of course Valentina, Susanna, and all the other partners of our SUSTRACK project. So thank you very much. A heartfelt thanks from my side, and looking forward to more collaboration in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.